Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade. So Jason Sudeikis, this is such a change of pace for you, this role. I really loved it, man. This guy is sincere, he's nice, he's prickly.
Sure.
Very big departure from Horrible Bosses or The Millers.
Yeah.
What drew you to this?
The script, written by Desi right there, and then meeting with Sean, the director. But yeah, it was that exact thing. I thought it was great parts for both the male and the female. I thought it was had an even older school rom-com vibe than I would say even something classic like When Harry Met Sally or You've Got Mail or Sleepless in Seattle, all of which I love. But it almost had like a Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant kind of feel to it. Not to compare myself to those guys. I think Rebecca's a lot closer than I am necessarily.
I just read your review where they were comparing you to Jimmy Stewart. So
oh well, that's all. Hey, that's flattering.
Stuff
Yeah.
and you nail it.
But yeah, I would. It was that 100%. Yeah, that.
I love the story about the cult rock figure because I'm a music guy. So I've always been fascinated what it would like to be a journalist where you have to document somebody's life. When you start just jamming into that role, what's it like for you?
Well, I sort of came about it as a fan of music myself, and sort of, but also, I'm lucky. I consider myself lucky, at least, that I get to do this for a living versus necessarily write about it or critique it or anything. So for me, it was about getting inside the mind of someone that maybe can't write music, that doesn't sing or anything, but loves it so much that where does that disconnect come from? And a lot of times I feel it's the curiosity that one that can't do something that is always curious about what it's like to be able to do something. And I think that's where my character is probably coming from, is like thinking that he must be, because he's a genius, he must be broken in some way. And yet throughout the course of the film we find out that maybe Hunter Miles, the character that we're talking about, this fake folk singer, may not be the only broken one in the mix.
I love the interplay between you and Rebecca. When you're working with somebody, is that instantaneous? Is that click where hey, this works with this actress?
As far as I know, yeah, but I mean, you'd have to ask them in regards to what it's like working with me. But I always sort of get out of the place of any sort of judgment or cynicism once you're in the boat with someone, because it is what it is. And that's something you sort of learn from, I think, just playing team sports and then working with ensembles. And I've been really lucky, being with a great generation at SNL, and I had a tremendous peer group when I lived and worked in Chicago too. So it feels like I've been lucky, or maybe that's just natural, or maybe there's something coming out of me that's allowed to harmonize and click with other people in a way that feels effortless from inside. But yeah, it's nothing I take for granted. But every time it shows up, I'm always like, oh, that was fun,
How is something like this different than We're the Millers, Horrible Bosses, doing a blockbuster like that?
Well, certainly the amount of money spent to make the film, so therefore days and even just down to the minutia of the number of takes you're allowed to do, and so that was one of the great things about working with Rebecca, is that she's a really hard worker and has a tremendous amount of theatrical training. So we were pretty on point, and the script demanded and deserved our 100% attention and ability to keep with it. That's the biggest thing. Less food at the craft services table, all those little perks are. But it's really the amount of time and the pressure that someone like Sean is put under. Even though it's not it's not guaranteed 3,000 screens like a studio film. When working with someone as great and as well known as like Jennifer Aniston, but it at the same time is a whole other set of pressures on the day-to-day of making a small budget film come in at budget, if not under. Yeah, it's a labor of love in a lot of ways, but. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good mix. It reminds me of doing it's the difference between doing SNL and Second City Touring Company. We'd do shows for 20 people or we'd do shows for 3,000 people, and the touring company, it didn't matter. You just had to do the show that was asked of you, and it's very similar in the indie world.